Hey everybody, welcome to Ron's Computer Videos. Hey, I had a couple of requests recently from people that were asking about my Apple DOS compatibility card setup here in my 6100, and were kind of curious because, you know, they may not be as well versed with DOS stuff as some other folks are, or, you know, it could just be a thing where it's like, hey, I'm busy and I just want to, you know, play around with this without having to do all the heavy lifting of setting it up. Either way, I don't really mind helping people. That's the whole reason I'm kind of in this game. So I just wanted to go ahead and show off my my image in kind of the basic things that I have set up on that, in case you didn't watch my old benchmarking video, which it'll probably be linked down in the doobly-doo. But anyway, let's go ahead and we're going to switch over to the PC. And my video capture solution kind of isn't a real big fan of switching between these two, but that's okay. What you'll see right off the bat here is Phil's Computer Lab has a really great sort of a DOS menuing thing. It's kind of like a DOS kickstart kind of thing to give you all the most common stuff that you would want to do with your DOS PC for playing games and just kind of playing around. And he did all this really great hard work to kind of get these things all set up. But what I have done is I have modified that to where it now will load like the Apple drivers for CD-ROM, or it'll load a Apple compatible mouse driver and things like that. So that's all kind of built in here. So we'll just do the top mode. Again, if you don't do anything, it will just, you know, pick number one when you boot. But based on what you want to do, you pick the option you want, and it will go through. And hey howdy, we are at a DOS prompt. And we have, I'm pointing at the screen as if you can actually see it, but, you know, we've got the Apple CD-ROM driver installed. We've also got a compatible mouse driver installed, and everything you need basically to go ahead and play DOS games that are on CD-ROM. Just to kind of get a directory here, you'll also see some other directories. The Apple directory here at the top, this has all of the additional things, because when you go through and you do like a base install of the DOS compatibility software, it'll add all this stuff like DOS clips, so that way that things that you put in the Macintosh clipboard or things that you put in the PC clipboard will switch back and forth between the two operating systems. That's okay if you're doing productivity software, which I don't really know anybody that's doing that at this point. They just want to play some Doom or something. So that takes up a lot of conventional memory on the DOS side to run that. So I just don't load it. Same thing with Mac Share, where you can, I think that's where you can mount Mac partitions kind of on the PC side of things, so you can share stuff back and forth. Honestly, it's probably almost just easier and saves memory on the PC side to just go through and run the, or just double click your DOS partition on the Mac side, and you can just copy documents into it as long as the volume isn't in use. So just make sure the PC side of things is shut down. And then in this directory, there's also a copy of the original config.sys and autoexec.bat, but renamed config.apl and autoexec.apl. And those are examples. Those are the original autoexec and config.sys that shipped with the Apple II card, or the DOS compatibility card. So if you wanted to look in there to see command line switches or anything like that, you can. There's also some other stuff out here. It's got like the real deal Sound Blaster 16 drivers, so that way that, you know, when you're playing games, you get OPL. I'm pretty sure it's OPL2 support. There's also the CTCM directory, which is some additional Creative Labs tools that you can use for various things. I think you can play like some audio clips and stuff like that for testing your equipment out. But it also has soft MPU, which doesn't have a lot of use right now for most people, since the DOS compatibility card does not output MIDI through the game port on the back of the machine, but that's a project that I'm working on to kind of bring MIDI support to the DOS compatibility card. And you'll also see DOS Bench, which that's another, if I could type, that's another great utility that Phil's Computer Lab created that I used when I was doing all of my benchmarking stuff for, we'll see if this works on the capture card, when I was benchmarking all of those CPUs, those Socket 3 CPUs for that other video, and I'll probably link to that in the doobly-doo as well. But anyway, as you can see, you've basically got all the tools that you need to play the different game, or play games and benchmark and things like that. So it's basically all set up and ready to go. So what I went ahead and did is I've got a copy of this image, this container file copied out to archive.org. There'll be a link, and eventually it'll be on Macintosh Garden as well. But what I wanted to kind of show you is it's this base container file is about, as you can see right there, about 500 megabytes. Honestly, there's only about 40 megabytes of stuff that's actually in the image, but to make sure that there was enough space to actually upload this various places where we're not wasting storage, let's go ahead and let's make a portable version of this. And you can use these same kind of instructions in reverse to, once you download like the 40 megabyte container file, that if you really wanted to, you could make a FAT16 is limited to 2 gigabytes, so you could make like a 2 gigabyte DOS 16 partition for games and have all your system files and DOS and everything on there that you wanted. But let's go ahead and do that. Let's figure out how you, or let me show you how you do that. So what we're going to go ahead and do is here in the PC setup control panel, we're going to make a new, again, you have other options where you can pick an existing drive partition. So what you download the one that I've uploaded to the usual places, and you can just select other, and it works. It's the same thing, C or D drive. What you do is you pick other, and you would pick that that container file, and then you'd be able to just kind of have a turnkey DOS solution. But what I'm going to go ahead and do here is we've got this, it's ready to go. Let's say that this is the 40 megabyte container file that I've got uploaded online, and we're going to make a bigger one that we can put some DOS games and stuff on. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to say, and if you have a dedicated drive, like you've got a SCSI to SD, or you got a Blue SCSI, or RISC-SCSI, or one of those other where you have the sort of the blessing of size, where you can add as many drives and stuff as you want, Mac SD, whatever you want to do. If you want to add a partition, you can have your custom partition out that you would do through the Apple SCSI setup program. But we're going to make a new drive file, or container, I think is what Apple kind of officially calls it. And we have a couple of options here. For the sake of the video, I'm not going to make this very big because I don't want to bore you with a bunch of stuff we've got to fast forward through anyway, because this does take a bit for it to create these container files for us. But you do have a couple of options here. I'm going to call this DOS drive, just for fun. But what you can do is you can set your name, set the location of where you want to save it temporarily. I'm going to make this 50 megabytes, just again, so that it moves along quickly. And you have the option to initialize the drive file. And what this will do is this will go through, and if you are not super familiar with how to partition and format hard drives under FAT16, where you have to use fdisk and then reboot the machine and then format partitions and all those type of things, it's probably easier just to say initialize the drive file. Now this does take longer, and if you make a 2 gigabyte drive file, it's going to take a while, even on a Power Mac. So, but for the sake of this, let's just go ahead and we'll do the initialization, since Apple's going to do the heavy lifting for us. So we'll say create, And this is going to take a minute, and you can watch the timer up here to see if it takes more than a couple of minutes to do. But in any case, we'll fast forward through this so you don't have to, you know, watch it all. All right, there you have it. We have our new drive file created, and it's partitioned and formatted. And they are kind enough to go ahead and stick it here at the D drive. You can only have 2 either partitions or drive files with the PC setup. So that looks good. So what we're going to go ahead and do now is we're going to restart the PC, and we'll switch over there. And we are just going to go ahead and copy this. So we'll just drop right out of there. And I'm on the C drive. I should be able to go to the D drive. Hey, sure enough, and it's even got the same name as the partition or the container file that we created. So the question is, how do we get everything from the C drive over to this new, quote, larger partition that you want to set up? Well, it's simple. There is a DOS command that's called xcopy. And if you give it the /?, you can read all of the switches and everything that it can do. But what we're going to do is we're going to use xcopy /E. And what that does is it copies everything, all subdirectories, even if they're empty. So if there is a game or something that requires a specific directory to be there because it's going to save something there later, that will save you a lot of grief. Now, granted, in this example, that's probably not super important, but I always do it anyway, just to make sure that everything is cloned kind of one for one. So we're going to take everything that's on our C drive, so C:\star.star, and we're going to send it all over to, and you probably don't have to have the star.star. I just have always done it. Old habits die hard. So we've got that. And what that's going to do is that's going to go through and copy all the directories, all the files from the existing image over to that new partition that you set up, or that new drive file that you set up. And at the very end, we're going to do one additional command that is going to bless that drive so that way that it's bootable. And then you're basically good to go. And we'll do one final test just to make sure that everything works before we move or delete anything. And that'll be that. So we'll fast forward and we'll be back in a second. Hey, we're back. We have all of our files copied. So that looks good. But now we have to bless that drive to make sure that it's actually bootable. So we're going to use the sys command. We're going to sys the D drive. There you go. So now what that did is that copied a few low-level like command.com and I think ms-dos.sys and stuff over to that other drive. Normally those files are hidden. I think we can even with this version of DOS, can you show the hidden files? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. So dir attribute hidden. Ooh. So maybe, I don't know. It's been a while. Command.com, I can see it. Config.sys, autoexec.bat. So it's probably ms-dos.sys, I think, that is hidden. But it doesn't matter because we have all of our files copied over and we have our drive syst. So let's go ahead. Let's hop out of the environment there. What we're going to go ahead and do, let's shut down our PC. And what we're going to do is you can't have the copy of the same drive mounted twice. So we're going to go through and we're going to try our new DOS drive. And let's see if it boots. Hopefully I haven't led you guys down a bad path. Hey, looky there. We'll just boot this again, get a directory. Yep. As you can see, it's we're now back to where it's just like, 50 megabytes. So remember, it's I'm reaching out to the screen again, like you can see it. Drop those last 3 digits, and you'll kind of see that it's just under the size we got. So, all right. So there you have it. We've got it all copied over to the new partition. I have links that take you to the archive.org version of or link for the file right now, and I will add the Macintosh guard and stuff here shortly. But anyway, that's it for today. Thanks everybody for joining me, and it's the DOS compatibility card. If you got one in your Quadra 610, or if you've transferred it into, or you have one of their reply cards, which I think for like Quadra 700 and stuff like that, they kind of made because the spacing is wrong for some of those other Power Macintoshes. So, but if you've got one of those cards, darn, they are a lot of fun to play around with. So anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful day, and as always, I can't forget, you got to shut down that PC. Apple II forever.